All right, welcome back to Shut Up and Ball. I am Marin, joined by Mr. John Harris, as per usual. And yeah, we're here to talk Super Bowl today and another topic, but going to start with the Super Bowl, obviously. Today, Tuesday, so I had a few days to digest some more, see what some of these other people in the media have said, which is very interesting. But we have our own genuine reactions as per usual. And in case you didn't know, in case you didn't watch Super Bowl or couldn't, maybe you're working or just busy. LA Rams, they pull out the win 23-20 against the Bengals. It was quite an interesting game. John, I'll let you go first. What were your thoughts on this game, how it played out and such? Yeah, just anything you wanted to add in regards to it.
Well, shockingly, it actually went exactly as I predicted on the podcast. Not, I didn't like go like crazy in depth of like the way that it would happen, but I said the Bengals would cover, Rams would win by like three, and that's what happened. So that was kind of cool. But overall, I wasn't shocked the way that it went. I felt a little bad for the Rams at points because the injuries it felt like everything was piling up against them, right? We have Robert Woods gets injured the day that Odell signs with the team, and you think that they're going to have this amazing trio of receivers, and Woods goes down. So now it feels like, wow, it's great that they signed Odell, and he has a great first quarter. I can't remember exactly when he got injured in the second, but he was doing great. He only had two catches, but I mean, it was for 50 something yards, was a touchdown. Like he was having a big impact on the game. And all of a sudden he gets hurt and he doesn't return. They're already without Tyler Higbee. So I was feeling bad for them when it came to the injuries. But overall, they were able to get it done anyway. Cooper Kupp, Aaron Donald, both of them just stepped up big time. Von Miller had a great game too. Um, so overall, I was the Rams did what I expected them to do. And for the Bengals, I think they made it a close game. I don't think the scoreboard, in my opinion, makes it as close as it seems. Like I don't want to be harsh to the Bengals, but honestly, offensively, I wasn't really impressed with what they did. I mean, if we take out that 175-yard touchdown that was a face mask, which the officiating this game wasn't the best. It wasn't awful, but it wasn't the best. Anyway, if we take out that 75-yard touchdown by T. Higgins, I mean, Burrow doesn't even eclipse 200 passing yards. And a lot of that blame can be placed on the offensive line, but also I wonder maybe about the play calling. Like, we didn't really see the receivers have like tons of impact outside of like a couple deep shots. Like Higgins, if you take that catch away, only has 25 receiving yards. If we take away, Jamar Chase's big reception in the first half, he's only about 40 receiving yards. Same for Tyler Boyd. And obviously, those plays did happen, so we can't just remove it from them. But it felt like their offense really was just Joe Mixon running the ball. And then outside of that, they needed a big spark with some massive down the field throw to get anything going. So wasn't really in love with what the Bengals were able to do offensively. And once again, I know that this isn't like, me taking shots at Joe Burrow because he did the best that he could. I mean, everyone's probably seen the picture at this point of that last throw that he made where if he had a split second longer, Jamar Chase had beaten Jalen Ramsey because Ramsey had tripped, and that would have won him the game. But the offensive line play was just it was absolutely pitiful for the Bengals, and we all knew that going in. So I'm not going to sit here and harp on that and say like everyone knew that the offensive line was bad for the Bengals. We knew that Aaron Donald, Von Miller, and Leonard Floyd and all those guys were going to be a problem, and that's exactly what they were. So yeah, I felt like in the playoffs, it becomes pretty clear. Like if this team's going to lose, this is how it's going to be. And for the Bengals, everybody knew how they're going to lose, and that's what happened.
Yeah. I'm with you in the same thought, I guess, to start with that. Bengals offense never really got going. And we only had that one drive. And even then, they needed the trick play from Joe Mixon touchdown pass to really make that go. Um, so yeah, and obviously I think let me say this: early on, it seemed like it was really Rams were in control, and then like you said, you mentioned really. I feel like I don't want to be cliche, but that Odell injury seemed like really deflating to them. Just not just from a team standpoint, which I'll mention in a second, but obviously just from a motion standpoint, because then it didn't help that all the other stuff happened. The Rams had just scored a touchdown. Odell got hurt, and then a few plays later, Matthew Stafford. I think they also got a false start. A few plays, like a play or two later, and then on that third same set of downs when is when Stafford threw the pick, which once again that first one more of like a punt, but obviously you would like
Yeah.
for him to kind of take care of the ball. Maybe just I'm not looking back, at least from live, which once again I hate the angle that I wish we could. I was talking to my friend, by the way. Just side note, future of TV is especially sports TVs, we get to choose what angle we watch at because I would like to see the overhead angle for especially for a play like that because then I could safely criticize like okay well maybe you should have taken this 7 yard pass and then they get in field goal range, but I'm not sure because TV angle is not great. Um, but so yeah, I hated the so that was kind of the downfall. Then obviously like you mentioned second half like first offensive play that touchdown that should have been a penalty on the Bengals wasn't. And then first play, right, their Rams, as you mentioned the second interception. Once again, not really Matthew Stafford's fault. Bounced off the guy's hands. I heard someone say it wasn't a good throw, but it actually was the appropriate throw because he had like your fourth string wide receiver who doesn't play much, and he threw it behind him so that he would slide and catch it so that he wouldn't get drilled by the guy lurking. There was a guy lurking right over the middle, the one that intercepted it. And that's why he probably Stafford made that throw that way was so that didn't happen. If he caught boom ball gets caught popped up in the air. Instead, obviously he couldn't. He tilted it up. Unfortunately, that receiver. But yeah, I will say for the Rams offense, once Odell left, I'm sure you mentioned this too, and you noticed it. But really, like I feel like that the Rams couldn't get much going offensively because Cooper Kupp was being doubled. Yeah, and they could not get the run game going too. Like I will give Sean McVay a lot of credit, a lot more patient with the run than I felt he should at times. I think there was a time in the second half where my friend was over talking. I was like we're both just like just put the ball in Stafford's hand and drop back. Like you're not getting anything on these runs, but they stay patient with it. Ended up working out later as they did the Cooper Cup sweep, things like that. They finally got going there when they really had to force the issue, but and I think the real hero of this game is the Rams defense. Because, like we mentioned, Bengals offense struggled, and it's mainly because of them, all the sacks, all the pressure, and especially when especially after was it the second pick after the big play, the one I mentioned where it was tipped, because right there, Bengals were knocking on the door to score another touchdown. I mean, I don't think people realize how hard it is for a defense. Oh, we let up a huge play first right out of the half. And then, okay, well, let's rest, figure out, oh, no, our offense just threw a pick. Now we have to go out there again and stop them on the short field. And they did. They held them to a field goal, which was they needed. And then not only that, afterwards, after that field goal, then the Rams went field goal, but then one, two, three, four, five straight punts by they forced. So credit to them. And then obviously the big play at the end to that Donald made. So, yeah, I think a lot of the credit deserves to go to the Rams defense. I know Jalen Ramsey was under fire because he got beat a few times, and like I said, we already addressed that. So, yeah, it was a very defensive game. It wasn't. It had its moments, luckily at the end, but not. If it weren't for a few referee miscues, like that big pass and such, wasn't that very exciting. It was Super Bowl. So,
Yeah. I
but
mean, like you just mentioned, like if we even go on the Bengals' entire game, all of their drives, they only had 3 drives go for more than 30 yards. One of which was that 75-yard touchdown. It was a one-play
one play.
drive, 75-yard touchdown. And once again, it was a face mask. Anybody who I've seen a lot of Bengals fans who are like, well, but the blah, blah, and they're talking about the officiating. I feel like officiating, although it wasn't great, it went both ways. Like there was bad calls for both sides. So I think it washes out anyway. But then like they had that their first scoring drive was the 59-yard drive with a field goal. And obviously that's the one where Jamar Chase gets the 46-yard reception. So once again, another drive it relied upon a big play. And then the only other drive that was really, to me, it was the only impressive drive of all of them. Not that, those big plays are not impressive because great plays by T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. Well, specifically Jamar Chase to
Yeah.
beat Jalen Ramsey. But the other drive in which they scored their only touchdown, it was just a good drive. Like they weren't sitting there, having to rely on a deep ball. I think the longest play of that drive was like 14 yards. And it was like a run by Joe Mixon. So that one was a great drive. But the rest of the game, I mean, like punt after 6 yards, punt after 7 yards, field goal after 8 plays for 11 yards, and that was off the interception. Punt, lost 3 yards. Punt, only gained 5 yards. Punt, lost 2 yards. Punt, only gained 24 yards. Like they had their opportunities, especially in the second half. Like if there's any fans out there who felt like the refereeing is what cost them the game, as a Cowboys fan who has had plenty of other Cowboys fans the whole year blame the refs, I'm going to say what I said for all those games. One call does not define the game. You had 5 drives in the second half where you could not even get over 30 yards outside of that one missed call on the T Higgins drive. So your offense, they just got stagnant. They got cold. The Rams defense figured them out, and they let and Von Miller and those guys take over.
Yeah, and just to add on that point, I mean, Zach Taylor, and I haven't heard any players either mention officiating. Zach Taylor specifically made a point on his presser after the game, right before he left. He said, I want to give Rams the credit to Rams that they won this game. Didn't criticize officiating, just
Yeah,
plain
Mike
out
McCarthy, take notes.
yeah. But yeah, so like, and even Joe Burrow, like, he could have went on a complaint, right after the game, on his bid. He said, hey, we didn't win. We'll be better. We'll be back. Like,
Yeah,
because I think any player that, like we mentioned a million times, it doesn't come down to that one play, and especially like we just mentioned, Bengals had opportunities to put this game away, and they didn't do that. And credit the Rams for hanging around. And at some point, there was going to be some sort of makeup call, for that big touchdown play. If we're thinking about it in a karma kind of way, and I'm not sure if you were thinking that, but once again, I had my buddy over, and he kept saying like, wonder when that makeup call is going to happen, and it happened on that final drive. Do want to give credit to final drive. I mean, credit Stafford. He stayed real patient up until that final drive, and then even then to force the issue. He just really started forcing it to Cooper Kupp because they were doubling him. You can see on that final drive they were doubling him the whole game. But at that point, obviously, he had to force the issue, and that's why arm strength and good arms matter. So obviously Cooper Kupp made some great plays, routes, and such. And also, I know my guy Chris Sims mentioned it, but seemed on that the game-winning touchdown. Credit to either Cooper Kupp, Stafford, or McVay, because Eli Apple was baiting on the inside. He did not expect them to throw a fade because usually Odell's been their fade guy. In that situation, obviously Odell wasn't there, and Cooper Kupp, more of a slot guy, but good adjustment by them to just make that throw and catch. And like I said, I'm not sure if that was on the line of scrimmage spot or something they've been thinking about all was safe for till the very end of the game, but obviously they executed well and they're champs because of that. So yeah, other than that, I think we're in the same boat. I think we both felt Aaron Donald. We if we had to pick Aaron Donald with an MVP, and I think like we just mentioned the reasons why he was a huge reason as to why they got those defensive stops. It wasn't really until that last drive that Cooper Kupp really got going. I know he had the other touchdown, but really, I'm not against it. I don't want to. I'm not saying hey, I mean, if there was a second option, if they say you can't pick Aaron Donald, I would okay. Cooper Kupp is deserving. So I'm not sure. I'm sure you feel the same way.
Yeah, I mean, I love Cooper Kupp. I had him in my fantasy team this year, and so like he holds a special place in my heart for who he is and how good he is. And I think he was wildly important, especially after Odell goes down. I mean, like the other options you got here, Van Jefferson didn't really
Who's
have a big
still,
impact on the
yeah,
game.
still figuring out his way, and then gosh, apparently he's having a baby midway through
Yeah,
the game,
right.
so
Like
it's like
he
all that
ran to
stuff's
the
going on.
hospital right after the game. Then after that, I mean, it's like your running backs, your third string tight end, like your fifth string receiver. Like besides Cooper Kupp is rough out there, so I get why he got it. But man, Aaron Donald, like
Because he
he was just a force. Like he got those 2 sacks, two
should have
tackles for
had. Technically,
loss.
I would count that last as a sack, even though Joe Burrow
Yeah,
tossed it away. That was because Aaron Donald was all up on him.
yeah, he had 3 QB hits. And once again, if you saw that last play where Joe Burrow tossed it away, if Donald does not get there, that is a touchdown. Jalen Ramsey tripped. Jamar Chase is wide open, 40 yards downfield. Like that's a touchdown, and that wins them the game. I don't know how many timeouts the Rams had left. They might have had all of
They
them.
had at least two, I think.
Yeah, I don't know if they used
Double check.
many, if any. Anyway, but it doesn't matter because like you have like 30 seconds after that play, and that's tough. Like it's possible, but it's tough. And all of a sudden, the pressure is on your offense. And Aaron Donald did not let it get to that point. They all
They all
three
do.
timeouts. So that makes it easier. But when it's Cooper Cup and all those other options that, they're going to start triple teaming him on that drive. So it becomes really hard. And it's not like the Bengals weren't getting pressure. Like Trey Hendrickson had a pretty solid day. DJ Reader up the middle had some solid stuff. Anyway, so Aaron Donald, though, he just didn't let it get to that point. And it felt like the second half, I don't know what adjustments were made. I don't know if Aaron Donald just got pissed, but it felt like after that fight, honestly, when Aaron Donald like pushed Joe Burrow out of bounds, like he just got mad and he became a force. And his play, I think, also allowed other people on the defensive line to have success because, and we talked about this going into the game, but like Von Miller was going one-on-one the whole day. Like there was never really any double team sent Von's way. And because of that, I think Von had 2 sacks as well.
Yes.
Yeah, Von had 2 sacks, two
Leonard
tackles for
Floyd had
loss.
one who's been on the other side. Ashawn Robinson
Yeah,
had a solid game too. He had a sack and a couple of big
yeah.
run stops
Yeah. So, and
because they
Ernest
had
Jones got one too, one of their
because
linebackers.
yeah,
So, I mean, and like that play right there with Ernest Jones, that was him rushing up the middle with Aaron Donald taking a double team, which let Jones go against the running back. So, Aaron Donald's play, it was absurd. It was monstrous, and I think that without him, I think the Bengals could have ran away with that game at many points in that second half. So, I think Cooper Cup absolutely deserves it because of that last drive, but to me, Aaron Donald 100% is the pick.
yeah. So I agree with that. So unfortunately, we can't change that. But last point, last mention. I mean, good for Odell and everyone else, and and I love that personally. A lot of players spoke out on Twitter, especially after that injury. Got to replace turf. So many
Yes.
non-contacts off issues, but probably won't happen. Just saying, these billion-dollar owners, they want to have their concerts there. It's just easier to have turf in your stadium, so you can use your stadium year round as opposed to just football, like poor Lambeau and Heinz Field. Where, although, just a note, next year playing Super Bowl is in Phoenix, and I think that's one of the only
Yep.
indoor stadiums where they grow the fat grass outdoors and bring it in. So,
I
credit
know
to
the
them.
Raiders do.
And sorry, I guess I forget how new the Raiders are, so I'm assuming I
Yeah.
did not know that, but um,
Which
and
they're I mean, both those they like roll it out into the parking lot, which is crazy.
yeah,
Anyway.
but I'm not sure the statistics there if that is totally different from natural and or artificial, if that's like a middle ground. But anyways, just a thought. But we're not gonna dive into those weeds literally. So yeah, credit the Rams. Go all in. They win. Sean McVay gets his win. Gets his Super Bowl. Cooper Cup MVP. So we'll see what happens with these two teams going forward. Obviously, Bengals number one thing to do in the offseason, they're gonna be dressing the yellow line, and we'll see what happens with the Rams as guys like Von Miller, Odell Beckham, who now that situation has become more interesting since he tore his ACL. But if they'll come back, or how they'll keep keep this roster intact for next year. So, anyways, yeah. So now the season's over.